Hey, this is Jacob here, and in this video I'm gonna show you how I built this Timesheet app using VBA. No templates, no subscriptions, just code. If you ever wanted to automate time tracking in Excel the right way, this video is for you.
Let's get started. The first two things I've done already is writing the headers up here and name the sheet timesheet data. Let's go to Visual Basic and design the form. Alt F11, insert form, and let's set the height and width to 500. Then we need some elements in it. First we need a combo box. And a label here. This is our employee. Let's change the font to bold and 10. Then we need 3 text boxes. One for the date here. One for the start time. And one for the end time. We're going to copy paste this. And we're going to write date. And here we're going to write start time. And here we're going to write end time. And we move these down a little bit because we need 2 buttons here where we click. And that's going to be done by 2 command buttons. We don't have a caption here. So this is the first one where we check in, and this is the second one where we check out. Then we'll have a label here also. Let's copy paste this and call that project. And let's copy paste this combo box because we're gonna need a combo box here. And let's copy paste this because we need another label here that says notes. And then we need a text box for the notes, but that should be a multi-line text box that allow you to insert multiple lines. Here, change it here to true. Then we need a list box here to display everything. And we need a label more. You can put that here and call it total hours. Then we need 2 command buttons. We need a submit button here. Maybe set that 14. Copy paste this one and put it up here. And we can name that clear. That will clear the form. Maybe do this a little bit smaller here, like so. Actually, let's do the same size here. So we do a 90 here in the width and also do a 90 here in the width here. So this is what we have so far. All right, then let's change some labels here and some controls. Let's rename all these so it's easier to code, as well as the form. So the form we can call here in captions employee timesheet. Enter a user form system. Or we can call it employee timesheet tracker. And actually, let's copy paste this and call it FRM, shorted for form. Copy paste this in. Remove the spaces. We can't have spaces here. That's it. So now we can also insert a module here and call it sub open form. Do a FRM employee timesheet tracker dot show. And that will open the form. So we're going to have a button here. Insert button here. And we can call that open form. And it will open the form. Then we have our labels, and we can just have the labels called label 1, label 2, label 3, label 4, label 5, and label 6. But this one we have to change because the caption needs to change when we enter data. So we can call that LBL total hours. And then this combo box, we can call it CBO employee. And the date text box we could call txt date. The command button could be labeled btn for button, start now. And the other button, let's copy paste this. We can call it btn end now. Then we have the text boxes, the start text box, txt start time, and txt end time. And the project combo box called CBO, short for combo box, project. And then we have our text box notes, txt notes. Then we have our two command buttons here, the submit, btn submit. And our clear button will be btn clear. And then we have our list box here. We can call that LST entries. These are just suggestions. You can name it whatever you want, but it's easier to follow along this training if you name the same as I do in this video. But it's totally up to you. All right, the next thing is we're gonna code the UserForm Initialize. So do the design and the controls so this UserForm works. We double click here. And then we are standing in the UserForm, but we go to Initialize. Just get rid of that. So first we want to center the form on the Excel window to be in the middle, to pop up in the middle. So when you click here, it pops up somewhere like in the middle. And we're gonna do that by writing ME startup position equals 0. And then we do a ME left equal application dot left plus application width divided by 2 minus MA dot width divided by 2. And we're gonna do the same for the top. Let's just copy paste this and replace this with top. And replace this with top. And now we're gonna set the height. So we're not gonna use the width, we're gonna use the height. Same formula. So the top will be set as application.top plus application height divided by 2 minus ME height divided by 2. Then we set the form as 500 and 500. So ME height equal 500 and ME width equal 500. And then instead of have this gray boring background, let's do this same blue color here just to pimp it up. So we're going to set me.backcolor equal RGB 173, 216, 230. So now it's the same color. The only thing we need here is to set the labels also to the same color, so they also have the same background color. Otherwise it looks kind of weird. And we're going to do that now. I'm just going to do a ME label 1 dot, and then basically copy paste this. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, because we have the special label, but we need to rename that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's our labels. And this label, I believe we call it LBL. Actually, let me check that. What did we call it? LBL total hours. LBL total hours. And now it's set. And you see it also opens up in the middle. It opens up in the middle of the screen. So we just set that. So now it looks good. Moving on. Then we need to populate this combo box. And there's multiple ways you can do that, but let's just keep it simple and do it with a array. So the way you can do that is writing MECBO employee.list equal array parentheses Alice, Bob, and Charlie. You can expand this list if you need more names, and you can also reference them to a sheet, a backend sheet that have all the names. So when you update the sheet, the combo box get updated as well. But this is what we basically did. So we can pick an employee here. We need to do that the same for the project. And let's just copy paste it again. And write here project. And the array should include admin, development, and support. now we have the drop down to the combo box here. Then we do metxt date.value and set the format as date, comma, month / day / year. Then we're gonna do a selected row index equals 0 and selected Excel row equals 0. And then we need to write a load that will load all the data we enter. Basically, it should load when we enter this. Now this button doesn't work, but when we fill in this form and we click submit, it should go into this box and it should load it from the backend sheet here. So we will have another submodule we call from here. We can call that something like load list and code that later on. All right, the next thing is we're gonna add a code to these buttons. So when you click it, the text box gets filled in with the timestamp where you check in and when you check out. Let's start here, the start time. And the way we're gonna do that is write txt start time dot value equal format time comma h colon mm like so, and we're gonna actually copy paste this because it will be pretty similar on the end time. When you click here and check out, all you need to do is to change it to end because it's the end time text box we need to format a time stamp on. Let's test it. So now it stamps 10:46, and yeah, it will timestamp 10:46 again because it hasn't changed. But the idea is that you check in here, and then when you're done working, you check out, and you don't have to have this form open all 7 hours you're working or whatever. You will see that more when we click on the items we have already logged in on. Moving on, because here we need to make a submodule here that calculates the total hours. And we're going to do that with a private sub here. Private sub calculate total hours. And do a on error resume next, just to do some error handling here to make it more robust. Then we're gonna do a dim start t for time as date, end t as date, and total as double. So all these elements we're gonna set as double. Then we're gonna do a if statement. If is date txt start time dot value and is date txt end time dot value. Then so we're basically checking if these text boxes include date format, which we ensured previously. Then we're gonna do a start t equal time value txt start time dot value. Actually, let's do some more spacing down here. So it's easier for you to see. So we have set the start time to equal time value equal txt start time dot value. Then we need to set the end time t equal time value txt end time dot value, and then the total equal nt minus start t. multiplied by 24. Then we're going to do the label LBL total hours dot caption. We're basically going to change the caption to round total, comma 2, and combine it with a string hours. So it's basically telling us how many hours we logged in when we're clicking the second button checking out. Then it calculates it and changes the caption in the label. Else, we're going to set LBL total hours dot caption equal blank. And then we're going to end our if statement here with an end if. On error, go to 0. Move this up again. That's it. And all we have to do now is to call this within the two text boxes. Call calculate total hours. And both of them here. And let's test it. We have the total hours here. And it vanished here because we don't have any total hours yet. And then we check out here. And you see it calculates 0,02 hours. This will make more sense if we've logged in 7 hours, or whatever, from 8 to 3. Then it will say 7 hours here. So you get the idea. So it seems to be working. All right. The next thing I want to do is to do the load list submodule. So we have it to load the entries we have entered already. So basically, I just need to write some data here to test if it works. Let's just put 1111 because we haven't coded the submit button. But I actually want to code this first because they're all connected. We also need to connect it with clear and so on. But let's take one step at a time, and we're going to write the private sub load list below this one. Private sub load list. We can do that with dim ws as worksheet. Set ws equal this workbook. Timesheet data. That's our name of our sheet. And then we're going to dim last row as long and I as long. Then we're going to do a with lst enters. That's our name of our list box. Do a dot clear first to clear it out. Then do a dot column count. Set that equal to 8. Because we will have here 8 columns with employee, date, start time, end time, total hours, project, and notes, and a timestamp. Then we're going to do a dot column width. Set that equal to 100, comma 70, comma 60, 60, 60, and 90, comma 120 and 120. Then we're gonna end our width. And these sizes I've all tested before this video to make sure it would be a good fit. But this is for you to test around. This is basically the size of each column inside of the list box. Then we're going to do a last row equal ws cells ws.rows that count, comma 1, take it from the first column and do a end xl dot row. And then we're gonna do a for I equal 2 to last row and write lst enters add item ws cells I, comma 1 dot value. That's our first column. And then we're gonna do a lst entries dot list lst entries dot list count -1, comma 1. Because a list box you have to retract 1 because that's how our list box is working. And we're gonna set that equal column 2 equal ws cells I, comma 2 dot value. And then we can just copy paste this. Two, 3, and 4, and change this format ws cells I, comma 3 the value, comma h colon mm. That's our timestamp. And the same format for the next one. And change it to the 4th column. Then we have the 5th here. So we write 5, 6, 7, and write 6, 7, 8. So we have the numbers here from 1 to 7 and 2 to 8 here. But we have our first column here. And then we're gonna do a next I. That's it. And then we're gonna open this up, comment this, leave this comment out, and we can just check if it is correct. You see it corrected the small letter to a big letter. And we need to correct this error with, I've misspelled it, but now it should work. And you see here, it writes 111 all the way here. It doesn't write it here because it's the timestamp format. So far, so good. All right, the next thing we're gonna code is the clear button that clears the form. Double click here. Then we're gonna do a me.cpo employee dot value equal blank me.txt date dot value equal blank me.txt start time dot value equal blank me.txt end date time dot value equal blank me.cpo project dot value equal blank me.txt notes dot value equal blank and me LBL total hours dot caption equal blank. Then we're gonna do a selected Excel row equals 0. And that's it for now. The idea should be that if you regret your entries here before saving it, you can just clear it. And then you've cleared all the entries here. A small change here, instead of having all these elements in the bottom clear click, we just copy it to a separate module. And I'm gonna explain you why I want to have it in a different module. We call that sub clear form and copy paste it in. And then we just call here clear form. The reason why I want it to be in a separate is it's easier to just edit this if you need some change. If you need more elements in the form and you need to clear it, then it's easier to just have one separated. Because we also need to add it to the submit button at the end. So when we're submitting, the last thing it should do is call the clear form. So imagine now we haven't coded the submit button, but let's just imagine we have coded it and we check in here and we check out here. Now it says 0 hours, but let's say a couple of hours later, and we have the project here, the admin, and some notes here you can write. And then when we have coded this, it will submit and clear the form, and you can write some data again. Otherwise, if we don't have the clear form, all the elements will just remain with the data in. And then we have to click clear here, and we just might as well just have it as the last step of the submit button. Now we're gonna code the rest of the submit button. Then you will see what I mean. And now we're done with these numbers. This was just for testing. Now let's code the submit button. Very excited for that. We are inside the submit button, but you can also just enter it here and double click here. We're going to start by dim our variables, dim ws as worksheet, set ws equal this workbook.sheets, timesheet data, dim last row as long. Then we're gonna have two type of selections. We will later on code when you double click here. When you have some items here and you double tap on them, the information should go back to the form here and you can check out. That's how the logic works. But we haven't any items here yet, so we can't double tap on any of these items. And we haven't coded the double tap, double click on items. So one step at a time, we have two sort of submit functionality. Either it's a new entry, just like this, development, and write some notes here, and you submit, and the data goes into it, or you have already double tapped here and information goes back and you need to check out. I hope that logic makes sense to you. Otherwise, you will learn later on in the video what I meant by this. We're going to call that editing. We're going to start that if selected Excel row is bigger than 0, then that means it's something we edited. So we need to update the data sheet and not write a new row. So we're going to do that with ws cells selected Excel row, comma 4, the fourth column, the value equal txt end time dot value. Then we're gonna have the fifth column and write the label LBL total hours dot caption, and then we're gonna have the seventh column in the selected Excel row as txt notes, in case we change the notes, txt notes dot value, and we're gonna do a timestamp in the eighth column. That's if we're gonna check out. So we're gonna do a else in case it's a new entry. We can just write here new, and we're gonna use the last row here and set that equal last row ws dot cells ws rows dot count comma 1 dot end xlsm dot row plus 1, because we want the new row to go one row below the last row. Then we're gonna do a ws dot cells last row comma 1 dot value equal cbo employee dot value, and basically write every step from the form. So let's copy paste this. That will make things easier. And write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need to change this for in the column 2. We're gonna set it to the txt date dot value. That's where we want to have the date. And then we want the next one in column 3 to be txt start time, and the next txt end time. And in the fifth column, we want the label LBL total hours, not dot value, but dot caption. We're gonna use the caption that we've set in the label. In the sixth column, we're gonna have the combo box for the project, so CPU project, and then we're gonna have the text box txt notes and right now here, and that's a VBA variable that timestamp time and the date. We want that in the 8th column, and then we're gonna do a end if, and end or if statement here. Then we have two more steps. We have the load list, so it updates the list form, and then call the clear form here. All right, then we need to code the logic. Double click on the list box on the items, so the data go back and you can end time and check out the working hours. Tap, the idea is when you double tap here, some of the elements should be uneditable. For example, the employee, the start time, the project. So you can only maybe write some notes and check out. The date should also be uneditable. That's the idea. Let's double click here and select the double click event here. Then we're gonna dim selected index as long. Selected index equal list entries dot list index. Selected index equal lst entries dot list index. If selected index equals -1, then exit sub. Basically, if there's no selection. And now we're gonna load data into form, and we're gonna do that with CBO employee dot value equal lst entries dot list and selected index, comma 0. And now we copy paste this down. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this one will be txt date. Then we have txt start time, txt end time, then we have the label, and that's not the value, that's a caption, lbl total hours dot caption. Then we have the CBO project, and finally the text box txt notes. Then we're gonna disable editing on key fields. Employees, me-cbo employees dot enable equal false, me.txt date dot enable equal false, and me.txt start time dot enable equal false, and me.cbo project dot enable equal false. These are the things we don't want the user to be able to edit. Then we're gonna dim ws as worksheet, and we're gonna set ws equal this workbook dot sheets and use our timesheet data. Then we're gonna dim I as long, and we're gonna dim match name as string and match date as string and match start as string. This section we're gonna match them up to see what item we click on in the list box matches the row, which row it should update, basically, which line it should check out if you check out. We're gonna set match name equal CBO employee, the value. We're gonna set match date equal txt date dot value. Then we're gonna set match start equal txt start time dot value. And then we're gonna do a for loop for I equal 2 to ws dot cells ws rows count first column dot end xl up the row. So basically go to the last row. And then we're gonna do a if statement. If ws cells I dot 1 comma 1 dot value equal match name and format ws cells I comma 2 dot value comma dd slash slash year, basically the date stamp. If that's equal match date and format ws.cells I comma 3 dot value comma, h colon mm equal match start. Then we have found a match, and then selected Excel row equal 1 exit for, and if so basically moving them in a little bit, and after the end if we have a next I. All right, before testing it we need to correct this error. It's selected Excel row, and now you can see the system also recognize it. And we have our selected Excel rows here and a selected row index here. This is the importance of writing big letters so the system recognizes it, and you can see when it doesn't recognize it. We go to the clear button. Actually, we go to the clear module here. Clear form. We don't want it to clear the date. This is very important when you create these forms and create systems in general, that you keep testing along the way. And now you can check in Alice. She's checked in 12:05. She's doing some admin work. Book rooms for admin meetings. Submit that. And then Bob checked in at the same time. He's doing some development, working on the new app. Submit that. And finally, Charlie checked in at the same time. He's doing some support, supporting new manager, and submit that. Now we can check them out and see how that goes. By the way, if you haven't done already, go follow me on Instagram and TikTok, because I post there every day, daily, multiple times. And that way you can engage with my content and actually have an impact on what type of tutorials I'm gonna make next. This tutorial came from people asking for a tutorial, so that's why I made this tutorial. So go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I also go live there, and then you will be notified when there's new content for you. And please hit that like button and subscribe. I want to grow my channel and teach even more people how to automate processes and tasks in their job. This is what I'm very passionate about, and I want to help more. And the more people we can help, the more awareness is going to be spread into VBA and Excel, because VBA is a very underrated skill. Most people think it's outdated, but you can see how you can really create these systems from scratch that automate things and put things into streamlined systems. So please share my content, subscribe if you find my content valuable. And now let's do a little bit of testing. Let's expand these columns. I know a mistake we need to correct. When we double tap on any of these, we can not edit anything besides checking them out, end the time, and write a new note here. But we can actually also tap on this and it overwrites the old time stream. That's a mistake. We don't want it to be able to do that. But it's very easy to fix, so let's do that right now. We double click on this one, and then we simply write an if statement that's checking whether this box is enabled or not. If txt start time enabled equal false, then we don't want it to write this. So then we exit sub. That's it. Because we don't want it to overwrite it with a new timestamp. You cannot timestamp back in time, or the system should not allow you to overwrite an old timestamp. The system should work like this. We click on Bob, we try, but nothing happens. But we can check him out. So now he's worked 2 hours and 47. This is not 2 hours and 47 minutes because it's in hundreds, 47 hours. And then we submit. All right, I found a small mistake here, but a very important one. Selected Excel row should not equal 1. It should of course equal I. So now it should all work. I have also updated the submit button so it works properly. We have it here, where we have our DM worksheet, and we set the worksheet to the timesheet data, and DM our last row as long, and then we are looking for whether it's row 2 in our selected Excel row, and if the selected Excel row is smaller or equal to our last row here. And then we're updating existing. If it's the existing, we're basically checking out and updating total hours. Otherwise, it's a new entry. And then we load the list, and then we call clear form. That's it. So now the final testing is here. So let's check out Alice, Bob, and Charlie. Let's start with Alice. And here you can see this button doesn't work because we cannot change the time. We have enabled it. But we can check out here, and then it's almost 3 hours of work. And then we submit. And here we have it with a new timestamp. Let's take Bob now. And we're checking him out as well. You see it's working. And none of this you can change. Let's just for fun change this. Support manager and CEO. Submit. And you can see it's updated with the new note. So this is how you make a employee timesheet tracker. Make sure to subscribe and follow along because more trainings will come, and let me know in the comment section what application you want to learn how to build next. And if you watched so far and you like this video, most likely you will also like this video where I'll show you step by step a full training how to automate your emails. Set up a whole email automation system that allow you to make email templates, search through contacts, and more. That will really take your VBA to the next level. And then I will see you in the next video.